Hello, good morning, good evening, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to Ask Abhijit 87. As you know, today is a live video chat session, so I'm going to take video questions from those of you who would like to come on the video chat. So let me share the link for so that you guys can join the video chat. Let me share it and pin it on the chat. One question per person, as always. Let me put that up. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Here it is. Let me pin the message. And now you should be able to enter the video chat. You can see the pinned message, and I hope you're all well. I can see people are already coming in. It's great to see everybody who is coming in. So before we begin, let us take a moment to pay tribute to one of India's greatest sons, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. Today is his birth anniversary, his Jayanti. One of India's greatest sons of all time, definitely one of the greatest kings of India in the past 1,000 years. After the great Rajaraj and Rajendra Chola, I would say that he was the greatest. So I would like to pay tribute to the great son of our soil, and let us also, if we wish to honor the memory and the legacy of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, we should also ask ourselves what were his principles, what were his values. If you guys know me, you would know that I have said that the great conqueror Chinggis Khan was a man of principles. Well, I can also say that Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj himself was a great man of principles. He lived and died by a set of values and principles. It's not enough to shout slogans and feel happy. If we really wish to honor the great man, we should try and study and understand his principles, and we should ask ourselves what was his vision for India. If he were to see India today, would he be happy to see what we have made of it? I strongly suspect that if Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj were to see India the way it is today, he would be very disappointed with what our so-called leaders have done since 1947. So, if we truly wish to honor him, we need to live by his principles and try and take India back to where he wanted it to be. Hindvi Swarajya. The secular socialist Republic of India is not the Hindvi Swarajya he wanted to establish. And I know that Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj is a one in a thousand kind of person. But if we have even 1% or 2% of his strength and greatness, if we stick together, band together, work together, we can do it. So let us try and honor the great man by living according to his values and principles. Okay, enough of that. Let's try and bring in some people. Whom shall I bring in? Let me bring in Shambhavi first. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, where are you from, ma'am?
I'm from Kolkata, sir.
Great to see you. Great to see you, Shambhavi. What's your question?
Likewise, sir. So, my question is that the Mughal king Akbar is said to make an intelligent use of secularism in his statecraft. So, was his political interest genuinely like that, or was he getting a social security from that?
I could not get half of your question. I'm very sorry. I think it was not clear. Could you please repeat a little slowly, perhaps?
Sure, sure, sir. Sir, I was saying that the Mughal king Akbar is said to make an intelligent use of secularism in his statecraft. So, was his political interest genuinely like that, or was he getting any kind of social security from that?
Okay. The guy, what's his name? Akbar in secularism. Yes, our textbooks, our historians have tried very, very hard to portray Akbar as a very secular and just king, a very benevolent king. We just need to look at a couple of incidents from his life to understand what sort of person he was. He besieged the city of Chittorgarh. He was eventually, after a prolonged siege, able to take over the city. Uh, the Rajputs who were defending the city were massacred. Their women committed Johar. And then there were a lot of people who had surrendered. And what this individual did is, in one day, he beheaded 30,000 men, women, children. Akbar. So, is that the
I see.
mark of secularism? We have to ask ourselves. That's all I need to tell you. I think we are all intelligent enough to see that if a person has done such a thing, and that is not the only incident, by the way, there are lots of other incidents such as this, not of that extreme magnitude, but along the same lines, that you
Mm-hmm.
can find from the historical record, from the chroniclers of the time, that he has done. So I don't see anything secular or benevolent about Akbar. He has been portrayed that way by historians for various reasons, but he's not that.
All right.
Please understand. And you can look it up yourself. All the information is out there in the public domain. Just look it up. It's there. It's not. I'm not
Right.
making it up. It's part of the historical record.
Right. Right.
Right.
Okay, sir. Thank
All
you,
right.
sir. It was nice
Thank you.
meeting
Nice
to you.
question. Nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Bye. Okay, let's bring in somebody else. Who else do we have? Let's bring in somebody new I haven't seen before. Let's bring in Mr. Shrish. Hello.
Hello, sir. Sir, nice
How
meeting
are
you
you
once
doing?
again. Sir,
Oh, we
fine.
have
How
met
are
before.
you? Yes, sir.
Okay, where are
Yes,
you
sir.
from?
Sir, I am from Delhi.
From Delhi. All right, all right. What's your question, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, sir, actually, my question was, I wanted to ask the origin of Indian classical music. Sir, I myself,
Mm.
sir, I'm very much fascinated by our Indian classical music. So, sir, the second part of the question is, sir, what steps should be taken by our country to develop a taste, to develop taste for, to develop the taste of Indian classical music among the youth of our country?
Very, very good
Yes,
question.
sir.
So if you look at various historical texts, and if you look at various college and university syllabuses, there is absolutely nothing in the history departments about Indian classical music. I've not seen anything anywhere. The historians have not done any research into the origins of Indian classical music. How old is this tradition, etc.? There was this about more than 100 years ago. There was this great music historian, I would say. His name was Pandit Bhatkande. I think studied the ragas, various Indian classical ragas. He classified and organized them into various thoughts and all that. That's the last proper work that's been done. But if you look at the enormous corpus of the various ragas, etc., that we have, it's very clear that this is a very ancient system. It's been developed over God knows how many centuries. Every raga has evolved over the centuries. In the past, it was different. Today, it's different. So, I don't have unfortunately an answer as to how old this tradition is. I would, you know, if you ask me to make an educated guess, I would say it would date back to the Vedic times. Indian classical music must have started around that time itself, because that period itself was a very advanced phase of civilization. So that's what I can say. Now, what can we do to bring the taste back? I mean, to make it more popular among the people, we have to get rid of, I would not say get rid of, but we have to reform Bollywood today does not propagate what is Indian culture. What Bollywood presents to people is something different. It's not Indian culture. It does not
Yes,
represent
sir.
Indian culture. It is not representative of Indian culture. Uh, it's trying to engineer the Indian taste for music, to attune it to certain foreign kinds of music. So what needs to happen is, uh, from the grassroots, if you can promote musicians who are interested in this. I mean, there are lots of folk musicians in Rajasthan, in every state actually, and there are lots of classical musicians also, but they don't get any exposure. They get no Yeah, they get no exposure at all. So
Yes, sir.
if you have a Bollywood song, you will find it blasted everywhere. There is so much promotion. There's so much money behind it. And when it comes to
Yes, sir.
folk musicians and musicians who are, let's say, playing sitar or vocalists, you get no exposure. So somehow this needs to change. I think as Indian society gets more prosperous, all of this will get more exposure. But perhaps by the time it may be too late, because we no longer have the great musicians of yore. So something needs to be done. I would say the government of India, it has a Ministry of Culture.
Yes,
I
sir.
think it is the job of the Ministry of Culture to promote Indian culture. I think it is one of the least performing ministries, the worst performing ministries in the government of India. So they need to wake up, and something needs to be done. But it is certainly very important that we revive Indian classical music.
Yes,
So
sir.
it's a very good question that you've asked.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Bye, sir.
All right, thank you. Great question.
Good night,
Thank
sir.
you.
Good
Bye.
night.
Good night. Okay, whom shall we bring in? My problem is I don't recognize people's faces. And then, okay, let me bring in Mr. Nirmit. Nirmit. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm great, sir. How are,
Where are you
how are
from?
you? Sir, Mumbai. No.
Mumbai. I'm great
Yes.
as always. Yes, sir. What's your question? Nice to meet you.
Sir, I wanted to ask that who was the last greatest pan-India leader? Because our current leader is not having that much influence in the southern states, and what it takes to be like that means it cannot be from one geography or one language or even a ethnicity like anything.
Yes, who was the last great pan India leader? So I would say you, if you look at the last time India was politically unified under a non-foreign constitution, non-foreign nonsense thing, it was under the Maratha Empire around the mid 1750s. So whoever was the Peshwa at that time, that person was the last pan India leader. Now that Peshwa was essentially, I don't remember who it was. We can look it up. Of course, it was around 1759 or so that we had the greatest extent of the Maratha Empire from southern Gandhar, Afghanistan, all the way to most of southern India. So this empire was built over a long time. Its genesis lies in the greatness of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. He did the hard work. He put the framework in place that his successors were able to exploit and benefit from to create this empire. So it was not a one person thing. It was the work of multiple generations of leaders. The last great pan India leader was who could I say it was? Most likely it was. I think Rajendra Chola conquered parts of northern India up to Varanasi, etc. He conquered the Ganga Valley and all, and but he did not go all the way north. I would say the last greatest leader before the last Peshwa who was in charge of that must have been Skandagupta, most likely, because he conquered all of India and unified all of India under one dominion. Skandagupta was about 1500 years ago. And of course, we had Lalitaditya Muktapida also, who conquered very large parts of India and way beyond that. So we have a few very notable leaders who conquered so much and unified the country. It's happened from time to time. I think it is time for that to happen again. Unfortunately, we have a prime minister, etc. But because of the structure of the Indian government, the constitution, and all the other so-called checks and balances, etc., the prime minister of India does not have that much power as we think he has. So things need to change for India to become great again. But let's see how it goes. Right?
Sir, so was Netaji at least ahead of others? Means
One question
of
per
the
person.
current age, sir, in this
Netaji was not ahead. I would not say that he was ahead of leaders like Shivaji
sir,
Maharaj,
during
because
his time.
Shivaji Maharaj was able to win. Netaji unfortunately lost. It is not his fault, but he was also great, but not. I see the duty of a leader is to win. That is non-negotiable. So that's just how it goes. All right, sir. Good
Thank you, sir.
question. Thank you very much. Thanks. Bye. Okay, whom shall I bring in? Uh, Let me bring in Mr. Kushal. Hello.
Hello, sir. So my
Hi.
question is, hi, sir.
Where
My
are you
question
from,
is,
sir? Where are you from?
Hyderabad. I was in the last live session also, sir.
Oh, you were there
So my
too.
question,
Ah, all right. Yes.
so my question is, what can we do about the Naga separatists, sir? Like, what's the update? What's going on there right now? Like, I've been trying to get update, but I can't find any article. Like, what do you think? What's going on there right now?
Yeah, even I don't have sufficient information. That part of India is rather remote, and there is not much news that comes out of that place. So we don't quite know what's happening. I think the situation is more or less reasonably under some kind of control. I don't have clarity, unfortunately. That is a sensitive part of India, and for whatever reason, maybe for good reasons, a lot of news does not come out from there. So unfortunately, unless you are a military, you're part of the Indian military, unless you have boots on the ground there, we may not be able to quite know what's happening there. So, you know, because I don't have sufficient information, I cannot tell you what exactly is the situation there. What I can say from a big picture perspective is that the whole of India needs to be properly integrated together. Like, for instance, the northeast of India has been given this stepmotherly treatment for decades. From 1947 onwards, it was constantly kept underdeveloped deliberately. So all of that needs to be undone. We need to integrate this part of India with what is called the so-called mainstream India. We need connectivity, good connectivity, airports, we need railways, we need roads, all that. Hopefully, connectivity by sea also, if you can engineer that sort of a geographical marvel. So that's what needs to happen. The place needs to be developed. There should be infrastructure. We need to have job opportunities, hospitals, schools, colleges, universities. If we develop all that, there will be no insurgency. And
Development is the only
that's
answer.
development is the only answer. Absolutely.
Okay, sir. Thank you
Right.
so much, sir. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. Good question.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Thank you,
again.
sir.
Yeah. Bye. Okay. Whom shall we bring in? My good friend is there. I'll make him wait just a little bit more. Whom shall we bring in? I get the feeling it's the same four or five people who are coming in every time. Let's bring in Mr. Dhruv. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Hi.
So
Where are you
my
from,
question
sir?
is, yes, sir.
Where are you from?
Sir, I'm from Delhi.
Delhi. Very nice, sir.
Yes,
What's
sir.
your
Yes,
question?
sir.
Please tell me.
So my question is, sir, as I've observed, sir, and seen, sir, that sir, Vedic India, sir, was more acceptable to homosexuality and so sexual education. As we can see, sir, in various temples there are many erotic sculptures, and sir, as we can see in Mahabharata also, there is a character named Shikhandi who was also homosexual, sir. So, sir, what changed that this thing become this thing is now seen in a very negative way, sir?
Yeah, good question. So first of all, let me just issue a small correction. Shikhandi was not homosexual. Shikhandi was a transgender, that sort of person. It was not a homosexual person. It was a person who had ambiguous gender, maybe somewhere between male and female. So the thing is this: there has, the leftists, the professors, the historians, we know how much they hate Hinduism and Indian culture, and even despite that, they have not been able to find a single instance of any sort of discrimination against homosexuality or LGBTQ, whatever they call it these days. Not even a single instance in Indian history, right? It tells you that Indian society has been always very open. Nobody cared what your sexual orientation, what your gender, what gender fluidity, whatever it was. No one ever cared, and there was no taboo against whatever any of these things. And like you say, we have these sculptures on temples which show how open and free Indian society was. So what happened? We came under foreign occupation in the past 1,000 years. The Abrahamic culture is very different from Indian culture. What we have, the kind of culture we had in India for thousands of years, it's still visible to some extent in to the east of India. Places like Southeast Asia, Thailand, Burma, Myanmar, etc. If you see their culture, they are far more open and liberal, in the true sense of the word liberal, than what India is today. Right. So, because we were under 1,000 years of foreign occupation, brutal foreign occupation, that's why women had to start covering up their bodies. People had to start behaving in a very different way than what the culture says. And that's why all these regressive, backward, patriarchal attitudes crept into Indian society over 1,000 years. First, it was the Turks, and then it was the British and Portuguese and other foreign occupiers. And their morality was always the same. It's the Abrahamic morality, whether you like it or not. So that's how it was. So that's why the attitudes have changed. What we may no longer be under foreign occupation technically today, but it takes time for a 1,000 years of occupation, that mentality, that siege mentality to go away, and all of that has become part of society just for the sake of survival. And that's why we have these attitudes that are prevalent in India today. So it's because of the foreign occupation, not because of Indian culture.
Thank
All
you,
right.
sir.
Thank you.
sir.
Nice question. Nice
Yes,
meeting
thank
you.
you, sir. Thank you.
All right. Okay, let's bring in. Whom shall I bring in? People are coming and going. Let's bring in Mr. Aryan. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Hi. Hello, sir. Hi, sir. So my question
Where are you
is, sir,
from, sir?
so I'm from Mumbai, sir, Maharashtra.
Have you been on this show before?
No, sir, I've not been here before.
Okay. Great. Nice meeting you, sir. What's your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you. So my question is, sir, do you think that there should be regulations put on the media, so as you can see, sir, how influential it is and how it influences elections in countries like the US?
Yes, excellent question. So I would say that there needs to be some regulation of the media, in the sense that we should not allow foreign funding in media organizations and agencies. When you have foreign funding, it is foreign interference, because whoever is giving you the money, you will have to do what they want, right? Otherwise, the source of your funding is cut off, and then you no longer have a media organization. So I am not saying every single news outlet in India is controlled by or funded by foreign organizations, but there are certainly many, and you can just follow the money. It's quite it's not hard to find. So many of these news organizations, agencies, outlets are funded. Not all, but there are certainly some that we know of that are funded. There may be more that are funded from abroad, and they get lots of funding from abroad. And when you have that big source of funding, you want to protect it, you want to keep benefiting from that. And that's why you are forced to give a certain flavor to your news that your masters want. So we need to ensure there is no foreign funding in the media. We have plenty of money in the country. India is no longer a very poor country. There's plenty of money, investment capital, etc. available. We need to cut off the foreign funding, not just in India. I would say that all countries in the world should have this law that foreign funding is not allowed in the media, because that will bring in foreign interference. And then you have all the manipulation of the opinions and interference in elections, because the media is very influential when it comes to elections, the kind of projections they put across, and so many things. So I would say that that is one thing that needs to be done. And secondly, I am not in favor of censorship. I think everybody should be allowed to express their opinion freely, but as long as it is a genuine opinion, as long as they're not trying to engineer certain kinds of perceptions, or because they are taking money from somebody. So that's the kind of thing that's need to be there. I think we need to have a free and fair media, but the media that is funded from abroad is not free and fair. So that's what I would suggest. If we can do that, that will take away 95% of the problems, right?
So do you think so that US media is funded by China?
I have not looked into it, but maybe you can look into it and let us know. What do you say?
Thank you, sir.
All right, nice meeting you, sir. Okay, Mr. Aditya. Hello.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Pleased to meet you, sir.
Hi. Nice to meet you. Where are you
Hi.
from, sir?
I'm from Bengaluru, Karnataka.
Nice to meet you. What's your question,
Okay.
sir?
So I'm just going to ask two questions. You can answer whichever you want.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay. So the first question is, sir, in all of Indian history, what has the role of Jainism been? That's the first question. And the second question is, sir, when you want to achieve a goal, do you think we should give up on principles to do that, or should we give up on the goal and change the goal if that takes us to like keep our principles?
That's a very good question. I will take the second question. I am not very big expert of Jainism, so I think I will pass on that one. But I will take up the second question. So let's say you have a big objective. Let's take the example of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. He was born into an India that was occupied by the Turks. India was occupied and there was this brutal oppression of Hindus, of Indians, of Indian culture, destruction, and all that. That's the India he was born into. He wanted to achieve freedom from the Turks. Now,
Yeah.
he was the son of a small chieftain who was serving I think the Adil Shahs, was it? Most likely, yes. So that is the situation he was born into. Now he wanted to achieve that. So he waged this guerrilla war, what is now called guerrilla warfare, which means that you don't meet your enemy in open battle. You hide wherever you can. You try to cut them, bleed them, and then run away, that sort of thing, which is what the Rajputs would never do. The Rajputs believed in honor. कि हम ऐसा नहीं करेंगे, हम वैसा करेंगे, हम सामने से आएंगे, that sort of thing, right? We'll fight with honor, we'll come from the front, we'll challenge you, and we'll show our bravery even if we lose. That's the kind of attitude the Rajputs had. The Marathas were very different. Their objective was to win. They didn't care how they won, as long as they defeated the Turks. And the thing is this: the Turks were perpetrating brutal, inhuman oppression on the people of India. It doesn't matter how you defeat such barbarians. You have to defeat them. Even if you cheat, even if you lie, even if you steal, you have to get rid of them from the country. The long-term prosperity and security of the country is the overall objective. How you achieve it doesn't matter. As long as you keep serving the people of the country, you can take any route, any method, any path to achieve that. So the principles were never broken. The principle is my job is to serve the people of India. My job is to serve dharma, and my job is to free. My principle and my objective is to free India. And how to achieve it doesn't matter. Sometimes I'll make a compromise with them. Sometimes I will sign an agreement with them and give up some forts. Later on, I'll take it back when the time is right. So you need to have a set of principles that you will not deviate from. Apart from that, you can break the rules as long as the larger objective is met. That is the way. These are the teachings of Vishnugupta Chanakya. I would say that Shivaji lived by that. The later Marathas who were able to reconquer India also lived by that, and even kings like Skandagupta, Samudragupta, and the Cholas, etc. They also lived by the principles of Vishnugupta Chanakya. So as long as you understand that, you can you're fine. You're not doing anything wrong.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right, sir.
I'm a fan. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Nice meeting you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, let's bring in Mr. Udit. Hello.
Yes, sir. Hello, sir. How are you, sir?
We have met before, haven't we?
Yes, sir. I've been here. I've been there all the sessions, sir.
All the sessions. Well, okay.
Yes, sir.
Where are you from again?
So Saudi Arabia, sir.
Saudi Arabia. All right. What's your
Yes,
question,
sir.
sir?
So my question is like I don't know the exact thing behind it or what was the reason. I want to know the reason. We keep on seeing the example of the Trojan horse, right? Like the Greeks
Mhm.
wanted to enter Troy. So what made them hide their people into the horse, like into the wooden horse, and then make them do that? So like, what's the history? Like, what made them do it? Do you know anything about it?
See, in warfare, warfare is won and lost through deception,
Yes, sir.
right? So we had this
Yes.
war going on, the Trojan War, and it
Yes, sir.
was at a stalemate kind of situation. None of the sides was winning. We had one side which was entrenched in this walled city, and you had another side that was besieging the city, and you had reached this state of equilibrium. Neither was able to make a breakthrough. It went on for years, I think. So these guys, they came up with a new idea. Let's try something different to deceive the opponent. All warfare is based on deception. That's what Sun Tzu said. So that is an example of that itself, the principle of deception. So I think it's a question of thinking differently, lateral thinking, think outside the box, think inside the Trojan horse, whatever you want to call it. And
Yes,
that's how this thing happened. Maybe it's a real historical incident. We don't quite know, but it's a very famous story and a great example of deception in warfare.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right,
So,
sir.
if I could just ask, like, within that question only, I'm not adding another one. I just wanted,
You're
I
very
just
smart
want to
every
know.
time.
Yes, sir. So, was it a war which made them go do that? A previous war which they were not able to win?
It was the Trojan War.
So
The
the Greeks were
Greeks.
not able to win that, and then they had to do this.
Yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot, sir. See
All
you
right.
soon, sir. See you tomorrow.
All right. Nice meeting you. Bye. Who else? Who else? Is there somebody I have not seen before? I'm getting the same people every time. I would like to give opportunities to people I've not met before. Let's bring in Mr. Arun. I hope it's somebody new. Hello.
Hi, Abhijit. Nice to meet you again.
Nice to again. All right. We have met before, have we?
Only once, I guess there was
Okay.
one, question that I had asked about the, overall impact of
Okay.
the
So
Hinduism.
where are you from? Where are you from?
I'm based in Hong Kong. Yeah.
Hong Kong. All right. So what's your
Yeah.
question?
Yeah. So my question is, there have been, many years of colonialism by the Britishers, right, and all
Mhm.
the Commonwealth countries which have been under their rule. But till now, for all the damage and all the things that they have done, they have never given us any reparations, and neither they have
Yes.
given us an apology. And then I do see that a lot of countries have done it for African countries. Recently also they have, some other countries they have given apology for, but till now they never done
Yes.
for India, and they have done the biggest damage to Indian, economy and everything. They looted and all of
Yes. We
that.
know that.
Yes. So I don't understand like why is it and how can even they come to the realization that they should be apologizing for at least doing all the ill deeds, and also what can we do from our side to make this whole thing come into a bigger light.
Yes. It's a question I've got multiple times, but it's a good question. So,
Yeah.
you know what? We don't need an apology from them.
Yeah.
We would want reparations, war reparations from these people. The thing is this: the reason why they have not given any reparations, any damages, any apology, or anything to India is because India has always been a terribly weak country until now. Today, India is rising for the first time since 1947. You had all these decades of the Nehruvian rate of growth in which India was growing at 1%, 2%, 3% per year. So India never became a large, sizable power from the economic perspective. And if you don't have a large economy, you don't have a large military. So India was always a small, weak nation despite its large size. And nobody respected India because India was a land of poverty. Because of the small economy, everybody was starving. It was there. Whether we like it or not, that's just the way it was.
Yeah.
So India never uh, was able to gain in the respect of the West, and India was never able to become so sizable that people would worry about the consequences of what they had done in the past. Even today, India is not in a position to push the UK around. But once India reaches about $10 trillion in its economy, that's when there will be consequences that the UK will have to face if they don't behave in a certain manner towards India. The kind of deference that they show towards China today, India
Yeah.
is not in a position to command that. So it is, see, the world doesn't care about what's right and what's wrong. The world respects power. The world fears power. Respect comes from fear. So you
The
have
hard
to
part.
make the world fear you first, then they will respect you, and then they will apologize to you, and they may even issue some reparations, or you may be able to extract reparations from them. So it's all about, see, the world actually, it may look like a very civilized place, but in from the geopolitical perspective, global perspective, is the rule of the jungle. The biggest fish wins. So that's what
Right.
India has to do, and then things will become very different once we reach that position. Okay,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah. Pleasure talking
Thank
to you.
you. Nice meeting you again. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye. Okay. Uh, do I have somebody new? Ashta Shahi. Sorry, Akshat Shahi. Hello.
Namaskar, sir.
Namaskar. Namaskar. Where are you from, sir?
So I am from UP, Uttar Pradesh, Lucknow.
Nice to meet you. You're the first time here, right? Are you?
Yes, sir. I'm first time here. So
First
my
time. Nice
question
to meet you,
is,
sir.
yeah.
Yeah.
So my question is the concept of communism sounds so
Mhm.
good on paper, but
Mhm.
why the country which adopts it usually don't succeed?
Very good question. Very good, concise question, but a very good question. Right. Communism sounds great on paper. Communism says everybody should be equal, right? Everybody should have the same amount of money. Everybody should have the same kind of house to live in, the same opportunities. Everything should be the same. So it is not about equality of opportunity. It is about equality of outcome, right? They want everybody to be equal. Now let's look at the world around us. Is the world an equal place? Is equality something that is part of nature? Look at the different animals that we have. We have lions, we have tigers, we have elephants, we have little mice, we have little rabbits. Is the world equal? No, the world is not equal. Look at human beings. Some are tall, some are short, some are not very intelligent, some are super smart geniuses. The world is not equal. When we when we play the Olympics, are we celebrating equality or inequality? We have a 100-meter race. Do we ensure that everybody ends at the same point and everybody gets a gold medal? No, that's not that. We are celebrating inequality. When we play the World Cup in cricket or football, we want only one team to win because it's all about who is the best. Inequality is the way of nature, and we are trying to go against nature when we are trying to impose equality of outcome. When we uh, when we go to school, does the teacher give everybody first rank? Why do we have exams? Why do we have job interviews? The world is about inequality. Everybody should get the same opportunity. You cannot give people different kinds of opportunities. Some people are oppressed, suppressed, and some people are given more opportunity. That is wrong. There should be equality of opportunity, and then it's up to you what you make of the opportunity. In communism, they're trying to create equality of outcome, which is just unnatural. It just doesn't work. And secondly, communism is a way of it's they say religion is the opium of the masses. Actually, communism is the opium of the masses because they make people feel everybody will be equal. But at the end of the day, in every single communist country where the communist experiment has been done, you will find that there is this one stratum of society, 99% of people who are all poor or at the same level, and there is this very small super minority who have all the privileges, the communist leadership. So it's always been like that. And every time they make the excuse that they did not do it properly, they did not implement communism properly, so let's try it again in a new country, and that's how it goes. So that is the reason why communism has failed over and over and over again, and it will keep failing every time they're going to try it.
So,
All right, sir.
So I'm going to add something in that question. So may I?
Go ahead.
So what is the best form of government according to you?
Look at the past 10,000 years, look at the greatest kingdoms, empires, everything, and see what worked. That is the best form of government. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Nice meeting you. Good questions. Okay, let's bring in Mr. Shaurya. Hello.
Hello, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Nice to meet you, sir. Where are you from?
Jamshedpur, and I am for the second time.
Okay, no problem. What's your question, sir?
So, and coincidentally, I am again wearing the same T-shirt. So my question is that, like, we see invaders coming to India, like Alexander came and Vasco da Gama. See, my question is that how did they talk? Like, they have totally different languages. If Vasco da Gama comes to India, then here we speak a different language, and they are totally different language. Then how did they communicate? Like today we have English as a global language, but back then.
That's a very interesting question that you've asked. Very interesting question. When these barbaric Europeans, Portuguese people come to India, how did they communicate? I suspect this is how it happened. See, the Europeans were in contact with the Arabs. We know that because they got all of India's science, knowledge, mathematics, everything from the Arabic world. So many of them knew Arabic. So I would expect that when these sailors like Vasco da Gama and pirates, etc., they would go to other countries on long voyages, they would take experts who were good at translating languages like Arabic, languages that they knew about, right? And then when they came to India, India also was in contact with the Arabic world. So you would have Indian Arabic translators also. And that's how there would be some kind of communication via a third language. So that's how I think it happened, because India has for thousands of years had contacts with various other countries and cultures, and Indians would have known multiple languages, especially in the court of a king. You would have experts who could translate multiple languages. That is a guarantee. And that's how they would have found some common language and used that to communicate. Make sense?
Yes. So, but we see this in the whole world, like anyone going to any country in the past, and we see trades happening. So, like, there must be a common language, like something or that. So, like, you talk very specifically about India. My question was like a general thing, like how trade happened if everyone had a different language and no common language there.
See, the world did not begin at a certain instant when nobody knew each other's languages, right? The world has always been in communication. For instance, India and Greece were in contact about 2,500 years ago, when the Seleucid, when Seleucus Nicator and his predecessors, etc., they tried to invade India. And there are significant similarities between the languages like Greek and Sanskrit. So it is not that hard to communicate. And we would have Persian translators also at that time. Persian is even closer to Sanskrit than the Greek, for instance. And India had communication with Rome for 2,500 years. So there was always contact. There was contact with Southeast Asia for 3,000 years before today. The people of Kalinga were trading with Southeast Asia. So it's always been a culture, a maritime culture. India and other countries also would be in communication and contact with neighboring countries. So there's always this network effect. So you'll always find somebody who can translate something for you.
Okay,
all right, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. Nice question. Nice meeting you. Bye. Okay. Let me bring in Shrey Paliwal. Hello.
Sir, Ram Ram, sir.
Ram Ram ji, Ram
Sir.
Ram. Where are you from, sir? Ram
Sir,
Ram.
I'm from Delhi, but I'm currently in Chennai.
All right, great. Nice meeting you.
Sir, actually, I've been trying to get your stream, so I actually have quite a many. I would not say many, but around 3 questions. If it's possible, you can answer them.
Go ahead, ask me. I'll take at least one. Go ahead.
Sir, my first one is related to, sir, acupoints, chakras, and martial arts. And how is that, sir, Thai martial art, Indonesian martial arts, and Philippines are much. I mean, they are able to advance, but our Indian martial arts, I mean, there are still arts, but not very used much. I mean, you can see, sir, used to be many kickboxing league where many white people used to be ruled, or either people used to be. Then suddenly, some Thai people came and they started beating the hell out of all the Americans. Then suddenly, sir, from Filipino, a very good boxer, his name was Manny Pacquiao.
Pacquiao.
Manny Pacquiao.
Manny
Sir,
Pacquiao.
he just short guy, and he started beating almost everyone. Sir, sir, first of all, why weren't we able to get this capability of martial art from India? And
Very good question.
second question, sir, related to the sir, that Sankat Gupta you mentioned earlier, sir. Sir, most of the means in English, when I've seen, they said that Huns were finished because there were too many enemy. But when I study and try to find out, and studied that it was Sankat Gupta who actually completely finished the Huns. Sir, why is it that some people are saying different, and most of the current historians are saying different things?
Okay, let's take these two. You have taken two, but for you, I'm going to make an exception. I'll answer both. So I don't know about
Thank you, sir.
chakras and all, but yes, but the martial arts, I think India is the place from where in the olden days, martial arts spread out. Because if you look at the various martial arts in Asia, you have karate in Japan, which essentially originates from Shaolin in China. You also have taekwondo in Korea, which seems to have originated from China again.
It's
Then you have
almost
Silat.
same as karate.
Yes, you have you have Muay Thai in Thailand. You have
Yes, sir.
blood sport in Cambodia. You have Silat in Philippines.
Yes,
In
sir.
Philippines, it's Kali, is it? In Indonesia, it's Silat. So there are
Both
multiple martial
both
arts.
Kali and Silat are from Indonesia.
Haan,
Sir,
Kali
that
and Silat are
movie,
both
sir,
from Indonesia.
that movie, sir, Raid 1 and Raid 2, that I made it more famous and more practical.
Right.
Now, actually, people from all over the world learning Silat, but that's they're learning Muay Thai, Silat, and but I don't see why there is no improvement in India. I mean, we still have a wrestler, but I mean, we still do सर देसी कुश्ती लोग करते हैं, लेकिन फिर भी ओलंपिक में गोल्ड लगभग बहुत ना के बराबर ही आ रहा है. क्योंकि मैंने
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल
देखा है कि सर, तो मतलब मैंने प्रैक्टिस करते हुए देखा और यकीन नहीं होता कि मतलब ऐसे प्रैक्टिस करता कि हर कैटेगरी में मेडल तो आना चाहिए सर, फिर भी नहीं आ पा रहे.
Yes, yes. बहुत अच्छा question, a very good question. So what happened is that our tradition, we had a tradition of martial arts, but it was destroyed systematically by the foreign occupiers. पहले तुर्क आए, the Turks came to India first, and they did not want Indians to be able to fight. So they systematically destroyed our universities, temples, all that, and also the martial arts tradition. And the British also did that. They starved India. They banned martial arts. You had all these martial arts in India. The Rajput martial art of sword fighting, it's extinct today. And you had various other forms of martial arts. All that is left in mainland India is Kalaripayutu in south, and Shastra Vidya, which is like 2% of the main martial art, of the overall martial art. And we know that India was the home of martial arts because our great guru, one of our great gurus, Buddha Dharma, went to China and taught them what they now call Kung Fu. So Kung Fu came from India. It is a yoga-based martial art. So we had these traditions. The foreign occupiers of India destroyed the traditions. इसके लिए आज हमारे पास ये traditions नहीं है, and it is still alive in Southeast Asia, in China, in Japan, Korea, etc. Now you say that we have all these wrestlers kushti karte hain, but why are we not winning medals? It is because there is no systematic teaching. We have the genetics, we have the strength, सब लड़के अच्छे हैं, strong है, सब में अच्छा genetics है, but they are not taught properly. Proper nutrition नहीं मिलता है, proper systematic training नहीं मिलती है, और proper funding नहीं मिलती है, and proper motivation भी नहीं मिलता है, right? If you have an athlete, that athlete needs motivation, प्रोत्साहन चाहिए, funding चाहिए, अच्छा फैसिलिटीज चाहिए. ये सब नहीं मिलता है इंडिया में. इसके लिए डिस्पाइट द इनक्रेडिबल टैलेंट वी आर नॉट डूइंग वेल, लेकिन धीरे 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 आप थोड़े थोड़े मेडल्स आ रहे हैं. आप 10 वर्ष और रुकिए और मेडल मिलेंगे. एंड अबाउट द हुन्स, आपने हुन्स के बारे में बात की, तो क्या हुआ था कि द हुन्स स्टार्टेड इन्वेडिंग इंडिया ड्यूरिंग द लेट गुप्ता एम्पायर टाइम. around 400 500 AD के आसपास, थोड़ा आगे पीछे होगा, you can look it up. So the Huns tried to invade India. There were multiple waves of invasions. At the same time, they were also invading the Roman Empire. So they were they were spread throughout Central Asia and Eurasia. So they tried invading India multiple times. They took over Gandhar. They had kings like Kingila and Toramana and what's his name, Mihirkula, etc. Mihirkula was a very evil person, but the others were good, more or less. I mean, reasonably good. So they tried invading India multiple times. It was Skandagupta who repeatedly repulsed these invasions, and he was able to successfully kick them out of India as long as he was alive. After he died, the invasion started again, and the Huns were able to establish small kingdoms in various parts of northern India, and then they assimilated within the population. That is the story.
Related to this Huns question, sir, Huns were also barbaric. Turkic Islamic people were also barbaric. So
No.
how is it that,
हाँ जी,
sir,
बोलिए,
they
बोलिए.
they were both almost equally barbaric if we talked about cruelty? But how is it that they were able to finish Huns but not Islamic invasion? Also, sir, this is what I think, sir, because although India does get under Islamic invasion and almost all capture got, I mean, all India, but we still keep many people, many kingdoms still keep fighting. Sir, is it that
Yeah.
India in its effort to still keep fighting after under Islamic invasion that Islam was not able to reach China, Korea, and Japan? Because I
Okay, let me
actually
answer
feel
that.
that is also a possibility.
See, the Huns were not Islamic. When they came to India, they were believing their culture, the religion was Tengrism. It is a
Sir, not
polytheistic culture. That is the original culture of the
Islamic.
Huns.
Sir, I was talking about cruelty, not just a Islamic invader. I'm talking about cruelty of both.
Okay, got it. So the Huns were not cruel. Only one of their kings, whose name was Mihir Kul, he was cruel. He was an atheist. The other Huns, they established Hindu kingdoms in present day Afghanistan. They were called the Kabul Shahis, the Hindu Shahis. They were of Hunnic origin, and they defended India from the Turkic invaders in the beginning, for a couple of centuries. So the Huns were not cruel. It is later the Turks who were cruel and they were barbaric and all that. So it's totally different. Okay, sir, good questions and very nice meeting you. All right, thank you. Okay, that was a long interaction. Everybody is raising their hand and waving their hands. Rupesh, hello.
Hello, good evening, sir. Can you hear me?
Good evening. Yes, I can hear you. Where are you from, sir?
I'm from Aurangabad, Maharashtra, sir.
All right, so what's your question?
Sir, I had actually two questions. You can answer any one of them.
Yeah.
The first question is, after independence, why did Myanmar, Nepal, Sri Lanka didn't become a part of India? Because actually they were under British administration at that time. Now, and even Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose captured that Myanmar and Burma wala part. So it should have become a part of India. But why didn't it become a part of India? And my second question is, why is matlab, all countries in which a rightist government is in power are trying to expand its what we say territory. Like India, like they are planning for Akhand Bharat. Like China wants a greater China, Russia wants USSR back, Turkey wants its Ottoman Empire back. Like kind of that thing.
It has nothing to do with right or left. Everybody wants that. Everybody wants more power, sir. That's the nature of power. Once you are in power, whether you're president, prime minister, CEO, whatever, you want more power. That is the simple nature of power. Power is a force of nature. Power doesn't like vacuum. Where there is vacuum, power will go and expand. Now, when you have a dearth of power, when you have less power, then whoever is under you will want to get out, and they will want to become independent from you. That's just the nature of the world. So, if you look at the history of India in the past 2000 years, we had a great Kushan Empire. And then slowly, because after Kanishka, the kings who succeeded him were not as powerful, then it fragmented, because when you have an emperor who is not very powerful, you will not want to pay taxes to him. Bhai, tu kaun hai? Why should I pay taxes to you? You're not strong enough. So I'll declare independence. That's how it happens. So in 1947, when India became so-called independent, the Indian government was not powerful enough, and they were not even willing to be able to administer Myanmar, etc., Sri Lanka. Right? Our leaders wanted to were very happy to break India up. They gave up East Pakistan, which is now Bangladesh. They gave up the Indus Valley, etc., to the Pakistanis and so on, and they even allowed the Pakistanis to take over POK. So India was not powerful enough. Our leaders did not have the willingness to keep India unified and to fight against anybody who wanted to break India. When you have a leader who has no wish to keep India unified, then why would territories like Myanmar, Sri Lanka want to be part of that? Nepal want to be part of that? You are weak, you are incompetent, you're going to give this country 30, 40, 50 years of Nehruvian rate of growth. Why should I be under you? Let me be independent. I'll manage my own affairs. That's just how it works. That's the way of the world. When you have a powerful leader who is able to give his subjects or her subjects what they want, everybody wants to be part of that. When you have a weak leader, nobody wants to be part of that. That's just how it goes, and that's why Myanmar, etc., are not part of India.
Sir, but Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel united whole India, but he didn't bring Bhutan back.
I think he will have to answer that for us.
Thank you.
Why
Sir.
didn't he bring Nepal back? Why didn't he take back Sri Lanka? Come on.
I will research on that, sir.
Yeah, exactly. All right, good questions.
Thank you, sir.
Nice meeting you. Thank you. Bye. Okay, let's bring in our great, one of my favorite guests, Soham. Hello.
यस सर सर एक इम्पोर्टेंट सवाल ये बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है और आई
जी
थिंक
जी
सो
जी
किसी ने ये सवाल नहीं पूछा है तो ये मैं
जी
सवाल
बोलिए।
किताब में लिखा हूँ लंबा है
हाँ
तो मैं बोलता हूँ
जरूर
इफ
definitely.
Hindus can do Ashwamedha so it is possible that Hindus do eat horse meat because other religion for example not pagan religion Roman religion, other religions, for example, Norse religion, Roman religion, after sacrificing the animal for the ritual purposes, the meat of the animal is eaten by either the priest or the king or the people of the community or the people of of that particular region.
Yes. So what's the question?
तो मेरा सवाल है कि अगर हिंदूस हॉर्स सैक्रिफाइस कर सकते तो हॉर्स का मीट खाते हैं क्या नहीं क्योंकि मैंने ये लेकर सर्च किया बट मुझे कोई आंसर नहीं मिला
See, I am not an authority on the precise rituals of Ashwamedha Yagna. I may be perhaps wrong about this, लेकिन मैंने इसके बारे में पढ़ा था long time ago मैंने पढ़ा था इसके बारे में. And from what I can recall right now, after the horse sacrifice was completed, अश्व का sacrifice होता है in a ritualistic manner. उसके बाद I believe उसका meat खाते हैं. Just for the purpose of completing the ritual. It doesn't mean that Hindus, ancient Indians used to eat horse meat every day. नहीं, ऐसा नहीं था. It was only for the purpose of completing this particular specific ritual that at the end of the Ashwamedha Yagna, when the horse is sacrificed in a ritualistic manner, then everybody eats a little bit of the meat. Not everybody the king, the queen, perhaps the priest, perhaps. ऐसा कुछ तो था. So I think whoever is interested in this needs to go to the Vedic text, read it properly. I think that's what is mentioned in it. If I am mistaken, then please forgive me. I apologize, but that's what I remember reading. Okay? So it doesn't mean that Hindus used to eat horse meat every day. ऐसा बिल्कुल भी नहीं था. This is only a very rare occasion, right?
But this proves that Hindus can eat horse meat. At least मेरा वो prove है कि Hindus यही मेरा point है.
Yes, you are right, Soham. There is nothing in Hinduism that says you cannot eat horse meat or goat meat or rabbit meat or duck meat or anything. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है हिंदुइज्म में. Hinduism कहता है कि as far as possible don't be cruel. The best way of living is to be vegetarian. But ऐसा नहीं है कि भाई आप कुछ खा ही नहीं सकते meat. You can eat meat. Many Kshatriyas etc. in the past used to eat meat. सबका अलग-अलग
rituals
traditions था. Yeah.
सर और एक तो सवाल ये इसी सैक्रिफाइस से रिलेटेड है. सर
बोलिए.
काउ हम लोग का सैक्रेड एनिमल आई अंडरस्टैंड क्योंकि वो भी बोविन फैमिली से ही बिलोंग करता है बट बफेलो आल्सो बिलोंग फ्रॉम बोविन फैमिली बट उसको भी क्यों सैक्रिफाइस किया जाता है इन हिंदू रिलीजन बिकॉज इन आप वो माँ दुर्गा का तो दुर्गा पूजा का फेस्टिवल तो आप जानते हैं जहां पर दुर्गा महिषासुर को मार देता है तो महिषासुर का जो फेस है वो एक बफेलो जैसा है तो कुछ हिंदू बफेलो को सैक्रिफाइस कर ये एक्सक्यूज देकर कि देखो महिषासुर का तो फेस बफेलो जैसा है, तो बफेलो को मारना एक तरह से महिषासुर को मारने के बराबर. इज इट जस्टिफाइबल?
See, you know what? Culture, religion, traditions, they are not always logical. We need to make sure, we need to understand one thing, कि हर चीज में mathematical logic apply नहीं कर सकते हम. You know, culture evolves over centuries, over thousands of years. There are lots of things that are not remembered today. There are reasons that we may not be able to remember today, and things like that. And what you're saying is correct. The buffalo, ये bovine animal है, definitely. It's a bovine animal. उसकी शक्ल अगर उसका चेहरा हम देखेंगे तो it is like cow, but it's black. So
it is
there's
a
a small
it is a
difference.
relative of cow. ये cow का एक रिश्तेदार है. इसलिए ये सवाल मैंने बहुत बार इंटरनेट में सर्च किया है, ये बहुत टाइप कि काउ की बफेलो भी काउ के रिश्ते, तब उसको क्यों सैक्रिफाइस करे, बलि का बकरा वो क्यों बनता है, मगर ये सवाल
क्योंकि
है.
वो काउ नहीं है, क्योंकि वो काउ नहीं है. इट इज नॉट बॉस इंडिकस व्हाटएवर द लैटिन नेम इज. इट इज नॉट द काउ. इट इज अ रिलेटिव ऑफ काउ, बट इट इज डिफरेंट. अलग स्पीशीज है, दूसरा स्पीशीज है. सो आई थिंक दैट इज द रीजन व्हाई काउ को हम कभी सैक्रिफाइस नहीं करेंगे. काउ को कभी हम मारेंगे नहीं. इट इज अ ग्रेट सिन इन ऑल हिंदुइज्म टू डू दैट, बट बफेलो इज अ डिफरेंट स्पीशीज. So I think for that reason it is allowed.
Because ये बीफ लेकर ही बहुत हंगामा हुआ है. इवन बफेलो मीट लेकर भी हंगामा हो जाता है. तो इसलिए सर ये सवाल नहीं, एक सजेशन है.
बोलिए.
सजेशन है, आप प्लीज आप अपने नेक्स्ट पॉडकास्ट अजीत भारती को लेके आइए. इसका एक रीजन भी है. अजीत भारती.
अच्छा. आई हैव हर्ड ऑफ हिम. ओके.
आप उसको, इसका रीजन भी है. वो आपने कुछ वीडियोस में, सम ऑफ द वीडियोस में वो कहा है कि चंगेज खान ने किल थाउजेंड्स हिंदू, हजारों हिंदुओं को मारा है. तो
नहीं,
इसलिए तो आप इससे आप अजीत पार्टी को नेक्स्ट पॉडकास्ट में लेकर ये चंगेज खान का ये इशू लेकर कि.
थैंक यू फॉर द सजेशन.
Thank
nice seeing you again.
सर मेरा और एक तो सवाल है, मैं नेक्स्ट पॉडकास्ट में बोलूंगा. ये बहुत
नेक्स्ट टाइम. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट टाइम. All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Bye. Okay. Do I see somebody I haven't seen before? Is everybody repeated? चलिए कृष्णा नंबियार जी को बुलाते हैं. Hi Krishna. Good evening, sir.
Hello, sir. Namaste. I'm Krishna from Bangalore.
Bangalore. Nice meeting you, sir.
Nice
meeting you.
Nice meeting you. Very, very glad I got an opportunity to speak to you, sir.
So likewise. Tell me, what's your question?
So I'm originally from Kerala, and in Kerala we have a tradition of matrilineality. So I have inherited my family name from my mother, and there's no system of gotra at all. So do you have any idea when this tradition sort of started in Kerala, or if it's there in any other part of India?
Unfortunately, I don't have the answer to when and why this started. India, as you know, India is a land of lots and lots of different traditions. We are a very diverse, very plural civilization. Lots of diverse traditions whose origins are for some reason obscure today. We have lost contact with our past, but we are all bound together under one civilizational and cultural umbrella. So in Kerala, like you say, there is this tradition of matrilineal inheritance and all that. I think in Coorg also there is this matrilineal tradition, right? The matrilineal custom. In the northeast of India, in the Garo Hills, in Meghalaya, etc. In some places in the northeast, you have matrilineal traditions and customs. So it's not Kerala is not the only place. I think in the Nayars you have it. Is it among the Nayars that you have?
It's among the Nayars and even the Kshatriyas as well. Even the kings used to inherit the throne from their maternal uncle.
Right. So so India has existed for more than 10,000 years as a distinct, visible culture and civilization. And so if you look at 10,000 years of history, so much can happen and so many different traditions can evolve. And the thing about India is that nobody has ever tried to tell people that you cannot do this because we do this. You live your way, I'll respect that. I'll live my way, you respect that. And that's how it's always been. So that's why we have so many diverse traditions coming that have evolved. Unfortunately, I don't have an answer as to how this started in Kerala. Maybe I will look into it. It's certainly a question that's very fascinating. It's a very fascinating tradition. and it's a very rare tradition. So I think it should be
Right.
preserved and it should be treasured. We have
Right.
this sort of
Right.
tradition in India, which
Right.
which completely goes against what the leftists say about this patrilineal nonsense that they try
Correct.
to
Yeah.
portray us as being. We have all of this. We have so much diversity. So I
Correct.
think
Correct.
I'll try and research this. Maybe I will call some expert from Kerala who can talk about this. Perhaps if I can find somebody. But it's a very good
That'd be
question
great,
you
sir.
asked. I'm glad you asked it. Right.
That'd be great, sir. And then I'd end by saying that what you're doing is extremely amazing, sir. There are many young people who are coming to your show and being inspired by what you're doing. So thanks a lot for that, sir.
Thank you so much. Very nice meeting you. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you, sir.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Okay. Gautam Panda. Hello.
Good evening, sir. Hope you are. Good evening, sir. Hope you are fine.
Good
And
evening, Gautam. Where are you from,
sir,
sir?
I am from Odisha, and actually, I've been in your last podcast too. So
Oh, you
I
were?
guess
Okay,
sorry.
okay. Nice meeting you
So
then again.
yes. So, sir, my question is that how is the second space race currently unfolding, and how will the scenario be like in the future, according to you as a astrophysicist? And please
That's
provide some
yeah.
contrast to first space race.
Very interesting question. Very interesting question. So the first space race started with the launch of the Sputnik satellite. Was it 1957? It's somewhere in the 1950s. The Americans and Russians were both trying to do this. So what happened is that the Americans had this thing called Operation Paperclip, in which they were able to abduct or acquire German rocket scientists,
Yes, sir.
the ones
Yes,
who had
sir.
built the V1,
Werner
V2,
von
etc.
Braun.
rockets. Werner
Yes.
von Braun was the major fish that they caught. So they
Yes.
brought these people as POWs, prisoners of war, de facto, to the US, and the Russians took whoever else they could. And these are the
Sergei
scientists who
Korolev.
started the. Sergei Korolev was Russian, but the Russians first acquired some
Yes.
German scientists, and they acquired some expertise like the R2 rocket. Was it? I don't know what's the name of the rocket. I don't
Sir,
remember right now, but yes.
Sir, R2 was in ICBM, and Sergei Korolev was from Ukraine.
Sergei Korolev was the chief designer. They called him the Integral.
Yes.
The Americans called him the
Yes.
Integral. If you read the book, what's it called? I forget the names of the books, man. But yeah,
Yes.
so these are the guys who started the space race. And when the Americans and the Russians acquired these German scientists, they poured a lot of money into becoming the first to go to space. The Russians were able to do it first, and then the Americans were scared. What if they can nuke us from space? What if they can drop nuclear bombs from
Yes.
space?
Yes.
So
Yes.
this space race started like that. At that time, the technology was not very well developed, and yet they were able to do so much. Today, you have enormous advances in computing power. You have enormous amounts in advances in material science. You have much stronger materials. You have way more powerful computers that you could not imagine in the 1960s and so on. So
Yes.
today we are witnessing the birth of the second space race. It is more like a private space race. You have private companies that are participating
Yes.
in this, and there are 2-3 things happening. Firstly, in the next 5 years, you're going to witness the great moon rush. Everybody is going to
Yes.
rush for the
Yes.
moon.
Yes.
India tried it, but we failed with the Chandrayaan 2. We were supposed to land that lander there. For some reason, the
Yes.
lander did not land properly. It crashed.
Yes.
Let's not go into
Yes.
why that happened, but we tried. Now we are sleeping. We should have immediately the next year send a Chandrayaan 3, but we still haven't
Yes,
done
sir.
that. Now,
Sir,
the Americans
Chandrayaan
are
3 is
planning to
going to
send
be launched this year. This year.
this year. Okay, I see. So the Americans are planning to send people to the moon in 24, 25 thereabouts. The Russians may be planning something. The Chinese have been doing very good progress in this. India
Sir,
is still sleeping. Yes, sir.
Sir, Russia and China have already signed a memorandum of
Yes.
understanding.
You are very well informed. I am very impressed, sir. Very, very impressed. So they are doing very well in this, and India is planning some things here and there. Like you said, Chandrayaan 3 this year. Hopefully, I hope. And then we have this
Yes.
manned space program, crewed space flight, which may happen, Gaganyaan, whatever they call it. So India
Yes.
will do something or the other, and so on. Right. So the reason why everybody is going to the moon right now is because the moon is full of resources. First of all, there is water there in certain
Yes.
places that you can use for a permanent moon station, human moon base there. And also the regolith or the soil, the soil of the moon,
Yes.
it contains helium-10, etc. Some things
Sir,
they-
helium 3.
which can be used. Yes, sir.
Helium 3.
Okay, helium-3, right. I forget my physics, man. So
Yeah,
that
yeah,
could
it's
be the
fine.
fuel for future nuclear reactors, right? Fusion
Yes,
reactors, if we can build those.
yes.
So once we acquire that, we are able to develop that technology. That nuclear fuel will be very, very, very
Mm.
valuable. So the moon is a great place to get that from. So there are reasons why we are first going for the moon. There's going to be a big rush for the moon in the next 5-10 years. I hope India is part of that. So that is what the space race is about. Of course, we know that Elon Musk wants to go to the moon in the next 5, 10, 20 years maximum. And once we are able to do that, other countries will try and uh, do the same thing, emulate that. So eventually, you will see a competition for territory on the moon and on Mars
Yes,
as well in the next 10, 20, 50, 100 years. So that's how
yes.
one could expect this to progress.
Sir,
All
and
right, sir.
I have three suggestions for you.
Only
First
three.
of all, yeah, first of all,
Yes,
it
sir.
would be very cool if you bring a virologist to your podcast or an
Mm.
astrobiologist, or
Mm-hmm.
other than that, if you could bring someone with a conflict of interest, I mean, who thinks
Mm.
in a other way, like some
Somebody from
leftist or
Mars.
something like that.
Somebody
No,
from
no,
Mars, perhaps.
no,
Different.
no, like some leftist kind of guy. So
Give me a
a
name.
bit of
Whom should I bring in? Whom should I bring in? Tell me.
um I don't know the names of any prominent virologist or astrobiologist, but
I'm talking about leftist. Give me the name
from
of a prominent leftist. Mr. Manmohan
uh,
Singh.
and, I don't know, like some journalist, like
Okay, okay. Who? What next?
Akash Banerjee, I guess.
I haven't heard of him, but okay. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Is that it?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right. Nice meeting you. Very interesting questions. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Take care. Bye. Okay. Is there somebody who I have not met before? Please raise your hands. Okay. Rudra Singh. Hello.
Hello, namaste sir.
Namaste. Namaste. Where are you from, sir?
I'm from Devghar, Jharkhand.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. What's your question, sir?
Sir, from last few days back, Singapore PM Lee Hong, Lee Shen Loom,
Uh-huh.
whatever the
Yes,
name
yes.
is.
Yeah.
Sir, he made an absurd statement about India that half of the MPs in the parliament are criminals, and
Oh.
he got this information from international media. And
Mm-hmm.
the thing is that from past 2 years or so, the entire propaganda is going from Western media that Hindu-phobic propaganda that India is bad and this and that. And you can see that from this propaganda, our allies are also having a negative sense about India, which they were not having few years back or past decade or so. This kind of
Okay. What's your
propaganda.
question, sir?
And what can India do to tackle this propaganda and shit?
Okay, so you started with Singapore. Okay, so let me address the Singapore thing. The Prime Minister of Singapore, Mr. I forget his name. I don't want to mispronounce it, so I'll not say it. But the Prime Minister, he made some statements about some parliamentarians in India who have some criminal record or something, and he also said something very nice about Mr. Shri Jawaharlal Nehru ji, and so on. So I would like to point out a couple of things. Singapore is not a democracy; it's a de facto one-party dictatorship. And the current Prime Minister of Singapore, his father, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, was the founder of Singapore, so to say, and he was an out and out dictator. He was a dictator. And he disappeared many people who were not very convenient for him. Disappearing someone, one wonders what that means. So, who are these people to talk about India? They are not even a democracy. They are a dictatorship. It's a one party dictatorship. Who are they to talk about India? If they want to talk about India, then they should be prepared for the kind of response that will come back. So we don't have to give a damn about what these people have to say. If they want to say something, we can show them the mirror. First, look at yourself in the face. Look at yourself in the mirror. Then you talk about somebody else. Now, when you talk about this propaganda that is promoted in the West, this Hindu phobic propaganda and all. There's nothing we can do about it, right? Because the entire Western media, it serves their national interest, it serves the Western interest. We think they have a free and fair media. It's an illusion. The media over there is nothing but the propaganda arm of the state. The BBC is the propaganda arm of the British government for the past God knows how many decades. That's what it is. It is simply propaganda. We think that because they have this posh English accent, that's what they're right. No, they are propagandists. Similarly, for the Washington Post, New York Times, CNN, whatever else it is, it's all propaganda. The thing we can do is, once we have sufficient money, we can try and buy some of those media outlets and then have them spout our propaganda. And what the other thing we can do is, why can't we have a BBC like organization or CNN like organization of our own, which is globally relevant and globally visible? We have the money to do it, but apparently we don't have the will to do it. We have something called Doordarshan, which is not even visible within India. It is still behaving like it is still in the 1970s. So we need to welcome ourselves into the 21st century and play by the 21st century rule book. That's what we need to do. So that's what I can say, sir. Nice question. Good question.
Thank you, sir. And one
Namaste.
suggestion.
Very nice meeting you. Thank you.
Sir, you were making these small clip videos previously.
Mhm.
You were also making, please continue that, because it engages the audience. Means not all the audience are here for 1 or 2 hour long podcast, and these small clips, the at least it will grow your audience and more people will come to see this.
I hear you. I hear you. Thank you for the suggestion. Thank you.
Namaskar.
Take care. Namaskar. Namaskar. Take care. Bye. Okay. I know people are waiting for quite some time. I apologize to everybody who's waiting. Let's bring in Mr. Prab Chauhan. Hello.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Where are you? Where are you
I'm
from?
in Winnipeg, Canada, originally from Patiala, Punjab.
Nice to meet you, sir. Nice to meet you.
So, how
What's
are
your
you,
question,
sir?
sir?
So, my question
I'm very well.
is, so it's a very sensitive topic, and I've been searching about it since when I was a teenager, but nobody could answer it properly. It's about Operation Blue Star. We people of the Punjab have been affected very, very, very extremely by that operation. So I have a couple of questions regarding to that. Just to make clear, I'm not a pro Khalistani or something. I have to give the disclaimer. I'm a very neutral and fact-based person. So my question is, couple of questions with regards to that, if I may ask.
Go ahead. Yeah.
First of all, was it necessary? Was burning of the library, Sikh reference library, which held many historical documents and literary facts of the Sikh history, was it required to burn it? And if the purpose was to flush out the Kharkus, that could have been happened when they were traveling India carrying AK-47s in an open environment. And the day was chosen when the founder of the Golden Temple was assassinated, killed, or eliminated by the Mughals. That week was chosen. Can we see it as a systematic killing of a certain community by Indian government?
This is one chapter of history that I am not very conversant with. I can certainly say from a big picture perspective that the Congress government of that time messed this situation up very badly. This could have been handled much better. Whatever happened, the taking up of arms and all that in this region, that could have been nipped in the bud. It's not like they could not see it coming. So I think it was botched up very badly. That's what I can say from a macro big picture perspective. I have not studied the step-by-step events of Operation Blue Star. What happened? What was burned? What I know was that there was a lot of destruction. Was it needed? Was it required? Was it necessary? I don't quite know. Maybe I will look into this in the future and perhaps talk about this. But from a very honest perspective, I don't quite know what exactly happened there. So unfortunately, I cannot answer that
Then can I ask
particular
another
question.
Professor? If
Go ahead. Let's yeah.
So I'm a Rajput, Pratap Singh Chauhan, but I follow Sikhism. There's a debate between me and my friends that how can I be a Sikh and be a Rajput? So can you please explain that?
Why
Can you
can't
please
you be a
explain
Sikh
that?
and be a Rajput?
Yes, please. Can you
See,
explain that to the masses?
see, it's very simple. It's very simple. See, Rajput is not a religion. It is not a belief system. It's an ethnicity. It's your lineage that goes back a few thousand years. So you can be a. I mean, there are lots of Punjabis who are converting to Christianity today. They may be Jats, they may be Rajputs. They are converting to Christianity. I mean, should they do that? Being Rajputs or Jats? So the thing is very simple. Whether if you're a Rajput, it means that is your lineage. It means you have a certain line of ancestry, but it doesn't prevent you from practicing whatever faith, whatever belief system, whatever rituals, traditions you want. It's your choice. So why can't you be a Sikh if you're a Rajput? I see absolutely nothing wrong with that, right? That's all I can say.
Thank you a lot, sir, and please keep up this good work. Thank you.
Most welcome. Nice to meet you. Okay. Okay, let's bring in Mr. Pranav Roy. Hello.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
Yeah,
Where are you from, sir?
yeah. Patliputra. I was in the
Patliputra.
last session too.
Oh, you
Yeah,
were there in the last one.
I
All
was in
right.
the.
Nice to meet you again.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, sir. So my question is, like a lot of people talk about Akhand Bharat, and even somebody asked question about it. If situation comes, should India remerge Pakistan with itself? But what we will get by remerging our country with one of the most radical and useless kind of society? What
Good
we'll get?
question. Good question. Good question. It's always, see, before you do anything, you have to do a cost versus benefit analysis. What is it going to cost you to do this, and what benefit do you gain from that? In the present situation, in the present context, let's say it becomes possible tomorrow to reintegrate Pakistan. Should we do it? No, no, not tomorrow, not tomorrow, not next week, not next year, not next decade. The Pakistani culture is incompatible with Indian values. Whether you like it or not, that's just the way it is. They have this culture of suicide bombing. They have the culture of terrorism. They have the culture of army rule and so on and so forth, right? Of all kinds of atrocities. You simply cannot have a population like that and allow them to run rampant in the rest of India. You simply cannot allow that. So what needs to happen? This is our land. It is our ancestral land. No matter where you're from, whether you're from the east of India, Magad, Patliputra, or anywhere else, your ancestors at some point in time lived in that part of our country. It is the ancestral territory of all of us. So what needs to happen is, first of all, we need to end this army rule, which means that in the next decade or so, we have to end the army rule. We have to liberate the people of Sindh from that, the people of Balochistan from that, the people of Punjab, people of Pashtunistan. Let them reintegrate or go independent. Bring back POK at least. And then over time, over a few decades, we can de-radicalize the people, de-traumatize the people. And when they are at a more civilized state of existence, we can reintegrate them. So it's not a next week project or next month project. It's a 100-year project. We are a very ancient civilization. We have to see things from a century upon century perspective. And we are simply one of the links in the chain. Our descendants will take care of that when the time is right. That's how we have to see it.
Do you think that the Indian government is thinking like that?
I think this Indian government now is thinking differently from the kind of governments we had in the past. I think there is a significant element of long-term thinking now, which is good.
All right. Okay.
Good question,
And
sir. Nice meeting you again.
Okay, hold on. So can you just ask one question and you have to answer like yes, no, or I don't want to answer that.
All right. Go ahead.
You keep talking about you keep talking about the that invisible hand that like in front of them the Indian government is like very weak. That invisible hand is essentially United States and its allies, with the Western world, so-called Western world, and some elements of the Western world.
It's possible.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Let's bring in Mr. Rahul Kadam. I believe I have not seen this gentleman before. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hello, sir. Sir,
where are you from, sir? Where are you from?
I'm from Mumbai, Maharashtra.
Nice to meet you, sir. Nice to meet you.
Sir,
What's your question?
Sir, I have a question regarding
Mhm.
the as you know that today is Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj Jayanti,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I want to know how we are following today the governance pattern which were followed by Maratha Empire during uh, their years of governance. Are we are following that same pattern, or there is any difference in that?
Excellent question. I spoke about this briefly at the beginning of today's session. So the pattern of governance and administration that the Maratha Empire had, it is not being followed today in India. Okay,
Okay.
it is not being followed at all. The principles and values of Chhatrapati Shivaji have been consigned to the dustbin today. We are not governing and administering this country according to the vision, the principles, and the values of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. We are not doing that. We raise slogans every day. Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj ki jai, Jai Shivaji, Jai Bhavani, and all that. We keep saying that. It is just slogans. 2 minute slogan bol diya and bhul gaye fir. That's what we are doing.
Yes.
Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj was a man of principles. He had certain values that he lived his life by and he died by that. He was a great
Yes.
man. And we are not following those principles. If he were to see India today, he would be deeply disappointed with what our leaders have done to this country. This is not the India he wanted. He had a vision for India. It was
Yeah.
established for some time under Hindu Swaraj because of his successors, but then they frittered it away. And today's India is not the India that Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj wanted. He would be deeply disappointed to see this. So we are not following the governance patterns, the governance system, etc., administration, and all that, those principles of the Bharata Empire. We are not. We are totally different from that. We are following a broken down Western model of governance. So that's why India is not doing well today.
So, sir, should we follow that or the today's
Yes.
pattern
No. We
for
have to
India?
see. We have to ask ourselves one question: that in the past 2,000 years of our history, at what points in time was India great? And then we can ask ourselves, what about following that pattern and adapting it for the 21st century? It's possible. See, the
Yeah.
principles of governance, the principles of power are timeless. You can always adapt them for any situation, for any century. So today we have the 21st century. We can adapt those Indian principles, Indian values for the 21st century, and that will be the right way to govern India. But that's not being done. We are blindly copying the West because we think the West is better. No, it's not better. So it's a very good question you've asked. A very pertinent. Yes.
One more question. In today's geopolitical situation, means I'm not clear about India, whether India is pro Russia or pro US. Means
India is
in
pro
US.
India. India is pro India. You can only be pro yourself. In geopolitics, there are no permanent friends, there are no permanent enemies. If somebody's national interest aligns with your national interest right now, you can cooperate with them. Tomorrow, their national interest may change, and then you don't need to cooperate with them. So today, India and Russia are not as close as they used to be 30 years ago, but we are not enemies. We still have a great amount of cooperation, and we have a common enemy, China. Today,
Oh,
Russia and China seem to be cooperating, but in the long run, they are big enemies. So
but
India
sir,
and Russia, in the long run, our interests will converge.
but sir, as you are aware, that means China and Russia both are following some type of communism. Uh, so we are, if we are pro Russia, then should then uh, if the crisis comes, whether Russia will support us or China. What do you think? Or it will be according to
Russia,
the that
if
situation.
if there is a crisis, Russia will do whatever is best for their national interest. If supporting India is good for their national interest, they will do it. If supporting China is good, they will do that. Otherwise, they will stay neutral. Also, there is also the option. That's
Oh,
how it goes.
so thank you. And one advice or maybe suggestion: just do long podcast about history, about any history. I just love. I just watch your podcast about Maratha Empire history, and I love it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Nice meeting you. Sir. Nice meeting you. Okay. Whom shall I bring in? Let's bring in Mr. K. Bhatt. Hello.
Hello, sir. Namaskar.
Namaskar, sir. Where are you from?
I'm from Mumbai.
Yes, sir. Nice to meet you. What's your question?
Wonderful to meet you, sir, as always. So, sir, once you mentioned that the Central Asians of today, that the people that occupy Central Asia today are not the original inhabitants of that region, and they are formed by mixing and the merging of various other populations throughout the years. So, could you throw some light on the history of Central Asia
Right, the history
and
of
how the
Central Asia goes back
populations have
thousands of years. But what I can tell you in brief is this: for a great part of history, Central Asia was known as Scythia. Scythia. So the people who lived there were nomadic people of Indo-Iranian origin. They were of Indian origin actually. If you look at their genetics, you will know that they had dark hair, brown eyes, and light brown skin. So they would look like me or many Indians, right? So that was the Scythian ethnicity. Uh, they also joined with India at a later time. So that was the ethnicity in Central Asia for thousands of years. And the Kushans were, you could call them the easternmost Scythians, right? That's what it was. Then what happened was that there was this new ethnicity that emerged from the east, from the easternmost part of Central Asia, which was the Hunnic ethnicity. The Hunnic ethnicity gave rise to two people, which is the Mongols and the Turks. Right? So their culture, religion was Tengrism. It's called Tengrism nowadays. It was a polytheistic culture. So the Mongols stayed in what is now Mongolia, and the Turks, they spread throughout various parts of Central Asia. And when they came in contact with Islam and they absorbed Islam, that's when they became militarily expansionist, and they conquered Persia. They started trying to invade northern India, and after several centuries, they were able to make inroads. And the so-called Mughal Empire is, of course, a Turkic empire, right? They were Turks. So that's what happened. And when they were able to spread across Central Asia from a military perspective, they did all kinds of horrific atrocities. They killed lots of people, and they took their women as their slaves. And that's how you have this mixed population in Central Asia today, who look half Turks and half Indian or Iranian, like the Turkmens, the Kazakhs, etc. There are various levels of mixing. The Uyghurs also. The Tajiks are mainly still Indo-Iranian, but apart from that, everybody else is mixed. So that is, in a nutshell, what happened.
So the same thing happened with Turkey as well, right? The Turks migrated to
Turkey is a
Turkey.
whole different story. Turkey, the people of Turkey, if you look at them, they are 99% Anatolian or Eastern European. There's very little actual Turkic Central Asian ethnicity in them. Some of them you can see it's there, but mostly it is the local Anatolian ethnicity and genetics that you will find in these people in Turkey.
And sir, what relation, like what history do the Turks have with the Tibet region?
None.
Nothing. No.
Nothing of any significance.
Nothing substantial.
Nothing substantial.
Sir, if
All
I
right,
may.
so you got 3 questions, so that should be enough. All right.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
Fair enough. Nice to meet
All
you.
right. Thank you. Nice seeing you. Bye. Hello.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Alokji. Where are you from?
Sir, I am from Chhattisgarh, sir.
Nice meeting you, sir. What's your question?
Sir, actually, I want to ask a question from geopolitics, sir.
Sure.
Okay, sir. During Cold War in 1962, the US and Russia, or USSR to be exact, they got engaged in very tense situation in Cuba, popularly known as Cuban Missile Crisis. So, around the same time, the People's Republic of China, they decided to attack India along the McMahon line, sir. So, drawing its parallel with the current geopolitical scenario, where again US and Russia are engaged, confronting each other in Ukraine. So, can we say that, can it be a possibility that China can invade Taiwan, as we are seeing that every other day the People's Liberation Army and specifically their Air Force are violating the Taiwanese airspace and also conducting various military drills there? So, can it be a possibility that China can invade Taiwan under the shadow of this Ukraine crisis?
Very, very good question. Yes, it's always a possibility. So, in India, we talk about a two-front war, right? We talk about the specter of a two-front war, one from the Chinese side, one from the Pakistani side. So, there is the specter of a much larger two-front scenario, one in Ukraine, one in Taiwan. So, right now, the Western media is tom-tomming the possibility that Mr. Putin may order the invasion of Ukraine tomorrow, or today evening, or whatever. It's apparently imminent. It could happen anytime in the next couple of days. That's what they are saying. Now, I don't know how true that is. I mean, I don't think anybody has any access to the inner thinking, inner workings of Mr. Putin's mind. But let's say that the Russians were to invade Ukraine, the NATO people, the Americans would want to try and prevent that, which means that they would get involved there in some military action. That would be the perfect opportunity for Mr. Xi Jinping to use that distraction as the opportunity to make a move on Taiwan. It makes sense from a military and geopolitical perspective. So I think if one thing were to happen, there is a possibility that the other thing may also happen at the same time, because we know there is a certain amount of cooperation and coordination between Russia and China, the so-called dragon bear scenario. So yes, it's a possibility. Certainly, it is.
Yes, sir. Sir, and I have a request also, sir. Sir,
Yeah.
in many of your Indian history podcast, you have covered the history of India mainly from the territorial perspective. So, sir, I want you to cover the maritime perspective, sir. Sir, as I have read books by Sanjeev Sanyal, sir, The Land of Seven Rivers and Indian Ocean Churn of People. So, I want you to cover the history of India from maritime perspective, sir, as we have seen that India has many influences in Southeast Asia, especially in Indonesia and Myanmar, Thailand also. So, sir, that is a request from me.
Very good
And I'm a
suggestion. I
big
like
fan
it.
of yours, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Nice meeting you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
Nice meeting you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye. Okay. Who is sleeping? Shall I wake somebody up? Let's bring in Mr. Sia Saran. Hello.
Hi, sir. How are you?
I am very well, sir. How are you doing? Where are you
I'm
from?
also good. I'm from Tokyo. I was in your podcast, I think, couple of 3 or 4 days back also.
Arigato.
So
Arigato.
thank you for giving me another opportunity. So my quick one question is regarding the 1857, first war of independence, because
Mhm.
in our culture we have been brainwashed to realize or to believe that we are not one people. We have all the kind of differences, be it religious or social or maybe caste system. But Veer Savarkar was very pointed in saying that no, this was our first war of independence, and even until in the modern times, we get that exposure to that concept, but nobody really delves on it. That why it was the first war of independence and why it was very important to say it as it was the first war of independence against the Britishers, and we were one people. And even in today's hijab row, which is going on today, it is kind of giving it an excuse or a justification that yes, it was just a mutiny, it was nothing independence, India was never one, you were all different. So what's your take on that?
My take is very simple. Our historians have done their utmost to portray this as a rebellion, as a revolt, as a mutiny. Like it's a small little incident. It was actually a pan-India thing. It happened all across India spontaneously. At that time, we did not have cell phones, we did not have internet, and still this entire uprising took place. It was no doubt a war of independence. And on what basis do I say it's a war of independence? Look at the death toll. More than 10 million Indians died in the aftermath of this. It took a long time for the British to suppress all the various geographical, the spread of this thing. And in the aftermath of this entire war, more than 10 million Indians died. I don't have the reference right now, but if you look it up, even from the British perspective, I think it was published in the Guardian or something, and there's been a book written about this, that the British killed at least 10 million Indians in the aftermath of this war. When 10 million people die, it's not a mutiny, it's not a rebellion, it's a war, and it's a subcontinent sized war. So that itself should tell everybody it's a war. But our historians have never highlighted the fact that more than 10 million Indians were killed by the British in the aftermath of this war. So we all think it's a mutiny, it's a chota mota happening. One Mangal Pandey did something, one Tatya Tope did something, one Rani of Lakshmibai died, and that's it. It's not like that. It spread all across the subcontinent, not everywhere. As always, the British were able to use their policy of divide and rule. They kept some people who they were able to induce some people in some parts of India to fight on their behalf, and eventually that's how they were able to prevail. So they have always been good at exploiting whatever divisions existed in Indian society, and enhancing those divisions. And that's a policy that has been followed since 1947. Also, our historians, everybody, academics, politicians, all they've done is to try and divide us further. And that's why today Indians don't really see themselves as one people. I mean, our local sub-national identity, it takes precedence over the national identity, because we don't have a single unifying civilizational language except English, which is a foreign language. The role of Sanskrit has been totally removed, so we don't have a unifying identity anymore, and the government has ensured it is not there. So there are reasons why we are so disunited even today, but I think because of the internet we can all start realizing that we are just one people. If you go back a couple of thousand years, we all have the same ancestors. So that's what I can say.
Thank
That's
you.
my perspective.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you. Thank you.
You too. Cheers.
Okay, let's whom shall I bring in? I can see people waiting. Let's bring in Mr. Ratan. Hello.
Hi, sir. How are you?
I am very well, sir. Where are you from?
I'm from Bihar. First of
Mhm.
all, I was not able to complete my education due to some financial crisis, but still I have a great interest in politics and all. So I have a three question. As someone asked earlier that like as the Russia and Ukraine war is going on, so China might invade Taiwan. So continuing that same question, do we have opportunity to like get the POK back? Like if Russia try to invade Ukraine, and on the same time, if China want to like invade Taiwan, because they both are allies today, China and Russia, right? So can India like tackle Pakistan and get the POK back, because we have a highest military and this air force and naval force, everything we have. Okay, so this is the first question. Second, that between the time of
Let's let's let's
9.
let's take one question. Let's take one question. One. I think
Okay.
it's a very good question
Okay,
that you asked. So let me take that one. So what I would say is that when it comes to nuclear weapons whether we like it or not, the Pakistanis have nuclear weapons, and we should have
Okay.
see, from our perspective, we should have a very clear understanding of where the Pakistani military's red line lies. So what is a nuclear red line? It is the threshold beyond which they will be compelled to use nuclear weapons. We don't ever want
Okay.
to cross that threshold, whether it is with Pakistan or with China, right? So
Okay.
from our strategic perspective, we need to have a very clear understanding of what the red line is. I am not sure POK is a red line for them, but if you were to try and go further, it may be a red line. What I would say is this: if the Chinese make a move on Taiwan, if they attempt an invasion of Taiwan, India should at the moment not think about POK. India should immediately secure Nepal and Sri Lanka. That's what I would say. There is no nuclear red
Okay.
line there. So that's what India should
Mhm.
do. What is easier to obtain, we should obtain that. I'm not saying you should invade and occupy it. I am saying we should secure. Let's call it secure. We
Yep.
should secure Nepal and Sri Lanka. If the Chinese dare to invade Taiwan, we should immediately do that. POK we will think about later. So that's what I would say. But of course, I am not running the government, so it's just a suggestion. Right?
Okay. Okay. One more question, sir, please. So between the time of 1990 and 1960, we have a currency of like 5,000 thousand and 10,000 rupees. Okay, I don't know much about it. So can you please give more details on that, like how India demonetized, like in the British like time between 1957, before 1947 and after like 1947, I think Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru continued the same thing. Like he continued everything. We all know that.
No,
Okay, he continued all the
I
great.
don't have sufficient. I don't have sufficient information about that. I have not studied the monetary history and all that of India, so I won't be able to answer this. Sorry.
Okay, no issue. Thank you
All
so
right.
much, sir.
Thank you. Nice meeting you. Nice meeting you.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Let's take hopefully one or two more questions. I know lots of people are waiting. Utkarsh. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Hello. Where are you from,
Nice.
sir? Have we met before?
Yes, sir. In last podcast, I met. If I'm from
Okay.
Shanghai,
Shanghai.
and a lot.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. My friend from Shanghai. What's up, sir? How are you doing? Ni
I'm doing
hao.
good, sir. Ni hao, sir, ni hao.
All
Last
right.
time
What's your
everybody was
question?
like, "Oh, I must be some agent or something. I'm not an agent. I'm very patriotic person,
No, I never
and I.
said that.
There were some people going down in the comments. Oh,
I
Chinese
see. I see.
agents. No,
Okay, okay. What's your question, sir?
okay, sir. So I want to ask, for a very long time, us Indians, we are stuck in this bubble of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We are not, we are peaceful people. We are like this, we are like that. We should not be expansionist. So how can somebody even maintain their power on a global stature, on a global stage, basically? How can we maintain our status, our stature, if we are not expansionist? Be it China, be it United States, be it Russia. Russia has its own sphere of influence. China is trying to build its own, being expansionist and all. Japan, when they had the power, they went deep inside China, all over Asia, even in Myanmar, even until Nagaland they reached, right? US has its own sphere of influence. If India, if we just maintain this kind of bad attitude that we are not expansionist, or we are so peace loving people, how can we even if we do become superpower, how will we sustain that for the long run? And so, extension of this, why don't we just take POK? Like, just be assertive about it. We just take it. We just finish this problem. Let's just separate Pakistan and China. They are neighbors because of that, right? That's why China keeps poking us. Okay, I'm sitting here, but still, they keep poking us through Pakistan because they have a boundary. If they are just not connected, they have to deal with us. Your comment, sir.
Yeah, good question. So I think we should learn from your hosts, China. I mean, the Chinese are very assertive. They are always expansionist. They have territorial disputes with all their neighbors. Certain territorial disputes are currently dormant, but they will be reopened at the appropriate time. So they have territorial designs on everybody. And this attitude of Vasudeva Kutumbakam, it comes from the line of thinking of Shri Mohandas Gandhi and Shri Nehruji and so on, which wants to lull Indians into being passive, non-aggressive, and all that. So India has always historically had a very large sphere of influence. It's been cultural mostly, and it's been trade related also. But from time to time, India has also been an expansionist power under certain emperors from time to time. So if India wants to secure its position as a geopolitical power, secure in at least in the Indian subcontinent, then it needs to have a military sphere of influence that extends way beyond its borders. That is non-negotiable. It has to happen. Otherwise, India is not even a regional power. So, like you said, we will have to deal with the POK situation sooner or later. Right now, there is a nuclear threshold. So, we need to calculate exactly what is the Pakistan Army's nuclear threshold, the nuclear red line. And if POK is not part of that, we should go ahead and do it. So, it is something that you cannot do it, you cannot take it flippantly. It is a very serious question. Anytime you go to war, there has to be a proper amount of calculation that goes behind that. The uh, all the cost benefit analysis, the scenarios that can you have to war game the entire situation. So I think that India needs to find the opportunity in the next few years to take back POK, no doubt about it. And if we do that, then we can cut off China from its access to Pakistan. So all this needs to happen. As India grows economically, it will also grow militarily in proportion. And when the time is right, and soon, I would say in the next 5 to 10 years maximum, we need to secure POK for sure. So yeah, I
Sir,
agree with the thing you said.
sir, do you think Pakistan even has a nuclear threshold, sir? They are puny little country, they compared to the size of India. Even if, let's say, they dare, like, Pakistan will cease to exist. I don't think they'll be so stupid to, start a nuclear war in India. They always say that tactical nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons can't be tactical. Once you drop even a tactical nuclear weapons on India, you just cannot control the repercussions of it. India will have to go at it. So do you think that
So
they
we
actually
don't
have?
want to. So we don't want to inherit a nuclear wasteland. I know. I agree that if the Pakistanis dare to use a single nuke against us, we're going to flatten them for sure. But then, what is the consequence of that? We're going to inherit a nuclear wasteland. Do we want our ancestral lands to be polluted by nuclear pollution for centuries? We don't want that. We have to think long term. It's not about what happens now. It's about where do we want to go in the next 100, 200 years. A leader has to think that way. From our perspective, we can think, Abhi Karlo, let's do it. But then what happens? There's going to be nuclear fallout that will spread all across the Indian subcontinent. It will spread across India also if there is a nuclear war. So we don't want to cross the nuclear threshold. The best way of fighting, the supreme art of fighting, is to acquire what you want without firing a single shot.
Sun Tzu?
That's
Yeah.
Sun Tzu, Vishnugupta Chanakya. That's how we have to do it. So that's the ideal way of fighting. When when your people don't even realize that you've won a big victory. It looks so effortless. That's actually what needs to happen. So let's see how it goes, but we need to take back POK sooner rather than later. Right?
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Nice meeting you. Nice meeting you. Thank you. Okay, let me take one final question. Let's bring in Mr. Abhishek. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Hi, nice meeting
Hello,
you. Where are
sir.
you from?
Sir, West Bengal.
West Bengal. Yes, great. What's your question?
Sir, can you tell me about who was Bappa Rawal? I've heard a lot about him, but we don't know much about him. And sir, my another question is that who was the greatest leader in Indian history?
Okay, okay. Greatest leader in Indian history. Look, India has a 10,000 plus year old history, so it's almost impossible to pinpoint one person. There is the great King Bharat, after whom our land is named. So that is one. We have Lord
Yes, sir.
Ram, Lord Krishna, great leaders, incredibly great leaders. We still worship them as gods. So we
Yes,
can I can give those two examples. We have Kanishka the Great. We have the great Mauryan leader Chandragupta Maurya. We had multiple great Gupta emperors like Kumara Gupta, Chandragupta, and what's his name, Samudra Gupta, etc. We had who else did we have? Lalitaditya Muktapida. Then we had the great Chola emperors, Rajendra Chola, Rajaraj Chola. Then we, of course, had the great Shivaji Maharaj, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. So we had so many great leaders. It's impossible to pinpoint one. Now, what's the other question you asked? It went out of my mind.
Sir, who was Bappa Rawal?
Bappa
And
Rawal.
what role? Yes, sir.
So Bappa Rawal was you will find very little written about him in textbooks and history books. He
Yes, sir.
was a Rajput warrior, and he was a very successful and powerful warrior. Uh, I think his greatest accomplishment was in defeating the Turks who had taken over parts of Western India and repulsing them a significant distance back westwards. And he was able to reconquer Punjab, get rid of the Turks, and establish civilization again for some time there. And he even founded the city, which is now called Rawalpindi. And I believe it is said, according to the legend or the story, that he was a disciple of Baba Gorakhnath. And when he retired from his career as a warrior, he went up north, and he and his warriors went up north, and they married among the people of the Himalayan foothills, and their descendants are called the Gorkhas. So they're great warriors, right? Because they have this Rajputic tradition in them, warrior tradition. So that is supposed to be the origin of the Gorkha people of present in northern India, Nepal, etc. So that's what I can say in brief about Bappa Rawal, great warrior.
So, sir, means Gorkhas are also a lineage of Rajput.
Certainly, yes, yes.
And sir, another question, one question. Sir, yes, sir, one question. Sir, why didn't India annex Bangladesh in 1971? Why it
I
was an
think
independent?
we will have to re-invoke. I don't know. I don't have an answer. Maybe the Americans and the Soviets did not allow us. Maybe they arm twisted the Indian government. Maybe the great Indian government of that time was not that powerful as we imagine it to be. We won this victory. We had the right of conquest. We conquered East Pakistan. It was ours by right of conquest. It was our territory anyway for thousands of years, and
Yes.
yet we did not reintegrate it. So I don't have an answer. I simply don't understand why we did not do it. But yeah, it's a valid question. Very good question. All right, sir.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.
Thank you. Nice meeting you. Thank you.
Uh,
All right. I think we are at the end of today's session. I apologize to the people who are waiting. I know lots of people are waiting. Should I bring in one more person? One more person. Okay, one last person I'll bring in, Mr. Manmat Tiwari. Hello.
Hello, sir. Nice to meet you again. So I was
You're
here
back.
before. Yeah. So actually, I'm preparing for my JE, so I don't get a lot of time.
Where are you from again? I forgot.
So I am from Lucknow.
Okay, let's. So yours is the last question for today. What is the question?
Well, sir, I feel very grateful for that. I want to ask that how to completely decolonize my mind. Like, despite knowing the fact how great and scientifically advanced my civilization was, still some sort of hesitation is still left in me on like some sort of hesitation that is stopping from wearing my cultural identity on my sleeves. Like even I think some part of my mind still thinks that speaking in English is like intellectually more superior than speaking in Hindi. How do I deal with it? In fact, like rather than, in fact, I know that English is an inferior language, but still there is some sort of uh, inferiority
I
complex
get it.
depth in the subconscious mind. How to deal with it?
Yeah. Yeah, good question. The first thing you have to realize is that it is not your fault that you feel this way. Since the time you were born, this has been drilled into your head from lots of different places. Your teachers, the education system, the medium of education, the media, the movies, everybody, all the so-called influencers, they put this into our heads. It takes a lot of time for to this process to be undone. The first thing is that since the fact that you realize that you will be to some extent mentally colonized, that itself is a big victory, right? So now what you have to do is you have to find ways to reconnect with our ancient culture. Maybe you could try and learn something. Maybe you can try and look at various other things. It's a long process. It cannot happen tomorrow or next week. Maybe you should give yourself 5 to 10 years, and maybe that it's a process of growing as a person. We grow over years, decades. It's not going to happen tomorrow. Even I am mentally colonized to an extent. I'm speaking English. I'm more comfortable with English, whether I like it or not. It's just what I have gone through in my life, and this is the outcome of that. But as long as you realize that English is not a superior language, and our culture was once very great, it is still the superior culture, and then when we try to reconnect with it in various ways, that's how you grow, you evolve, and you decolonize. It's a long process.
So one suggestion I want to take from you, sir. So like in your previous videos, you keep saying that IITs of India are not up to their standards and like they are in some way like not good enough. But then that demotivates me from preparing for my JEE.
No, 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 no. See, it doesn't matter where you go. What matters is what quality lies inside you. You may go to the worst school, worst college in the world, but as long as you have a certain quality and you develop yourself sufficiently, then it doesn't matter what school, college you go to. And the IITs are not that bad. They are worse than what I would want them to be. I want the IITs to be the best institution in the world. That is the standards I have. And from that perspective, I find them disappointing. That doesn't mean they are bad. That doesn't mean they're terrible. They can be better, but they can serve the purpose for most Indian students as long as you take the time to develop yourself into a superior human being, which you can. It's all up to you. It's your choice what you do, and you have the strength in you to do it. So don't feel demotivated by my criticism of the IITs. The criticism is valid, but it doesn't mean that the institutes are that bad. They are still reasonably okay. What really matters is how you approach your life. You can make the best of any situation. So that's what I would say. Don't be demotivated.
Thank you so much, sir. Big fan.
Thank you so much. Nice meeting you. Bye. Okay, gentlemen and ladies and gentlemen. All right. That brings us to the end of today's session. I apologize to my friends who are waiting. Really sorry. So tomorrow we will have one more session just like this. And the ones who came in today, hopefully I will not bring them again tomorrow. And I will give opportunities to newer people tomorrow. So I apologize to those who are waiting. Please come again tomorrow. I will try and give the chance to as many of you as possible. I will see you tomorrow. Until that time, take care. Thank you everybody for watching, for your support. And I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.